by 2, 7 rows deep.
And rolling up to the start-finish line. It looks like Azure going a little bit off track as the inside.
As they can. Saber making an amazing dive into turn 1.
And electroshocks off, Eggful gets the move.
But MNU trying to take a move.
Big contact from 5 different punches.
Big incident with Snowdog, our leader.
As we head into town row, it's a big clash. It's a big clash between the two title contenders.
Welcome everyone to the second round of this first season of the Hypercar Championship on LMU. Today we are on COTA, also known as Circuits of the Americas. I'm MNU and I'm joined by Azure.
Pleasure to be here as always, MNU. I think it's going to be an interesting race today, a track that people are familiar with around ACC, our typical Simufur drivers driving that sim, but not here in the Hypercars.
Well, as most people know, this track is run in Formula 1, but it's also run on other series, just as you said. GT World Challenge, so ACC basically for the sim races, or WEC, hence why we are racing on this track today. This track has a total of 20 corners and has a length of 5.5 kilometers. And as a sad commentary, it is very bumpy following a few reboots from the drivers. Today it's quite hot, 30 degrees on the track with a clear weather lined up for the race. Honestly, I see a good race coming up.
It's definitely going to be an interesting race. I'm hearing comments from drivers that there is some airtime to be had around some of these corners, especially if you go through some of the curbs. There's going to be a lot of tyre degradation with the amount of corners there are, the amount of times you're going to have to turn the car around. These do have a bit more downforce than the GTs that we have seen in Simufur here before, but tyre degradation is still going to be very much a thing. Pit strategy will also come into play. Will some people want to come in and run a bit less fuel around the corners, or we have heard some rumours of some people going for a full zero-stop race.
That's interesting. Talking about zero pit stop during the race, I'm going to go on with the standings because someone in the standings who's in the podium managed to do a podium last race with a pretty lucky pit stop. So, going on with the standings, we have Robbie Kelly in first position with 26 points. Jordan Johnson in second position with 22 points. Then Alexander van der Woode, which is the driver that I was talking about doing the lucky pit stop, with 20 points. We're then followed by Luis Alfonso in P4, Tyler van Beek in P5, Parker Olson in P6, Niklas Zahn P7, Sarah van Fietland in P8, Adrian Newt in P9, was pretty unlucky with that pit stop, honestly. Vossi Tigris in P10, Callum Mooney in P11, Fabio Sol in P12, Camille Jurasek in P13, Kvik de Vries in P14, small hi to the Fries name, I like those. Fury April in P15, Inigo Lopez in P16, Blade Wolf, Kage Kiyo in P17, Chris the Gator in P18, Sarah Mbessen in P19, and then closing in with Sierra Thomas in P20 who lost their points because they did a car change recently. They are now in the Toyota, leaving behind the poor Peugeot.
One less French car on the grid, and a new large Prius, as I've been hearing some people call it. I already see some people in the chat claiming that the pit stop from Van der Woede was a setup from Louis all along. This is a topic that has been widely debated in the past week. We can't give you any confirmation either way, but it's always interesting to watch with a bag of popcorn.
I mean, this race is going to get even crazier. Since you said earlier there was a chance of 0 pit stops. Now, will we see a Code 50? Well, it's not called Code 50 now. It's called Full Course Yellow in the series. But will we see a Full Course Yellow in the series that might get people to actually do 1 pit stop?
Could potentially be the case. The question is, how long is the pit stop here? And if you can run without one, is the loss of pace from carrying extra fuel and 1 set of tyres worth skipping the pit stop? COTA with a track is expecting a lot of tyre degradation, a lot of pace drop over the stints. It could go either way. The full course yellow could be what comes in and offers that extra option to people. But if they've already fueled their car up enough to go the whole distance, is it still worth it?
I wonder if there's going to be people betting on a full course yellow to actually go in the pits. I wonder. It's weird. It's going to be weird. I'm maybe. I wouldn't say planning because I'm at a lack for grammar words here, but maybe someone, I don't know, maybe a little bit of a crash following the first corner when we go into the wiggly lines. I wonder if there's gonna be a crash there, since it's wiggly hypercar stuff. The Toyota doesn't like being wiggled.
All of the hypercars are going to be starting with cold tyres. People will not have had a chance to drain their hybrid system. The hybrid systems regenerating their energy is what gives a lot of the braking performance. These cars are very... Oh, we do have tyre warmers. I've just been corrected. That is a slight thing on my part. However, the tyres still won't be as warm as they would be once they've done a few laps. And also, as mentioned, the hybrid system will also be playing there when it is still quite full at the beginning of a race. First turn will still be quite scary. There's a lot of heavy braking zones at COTA, and that is where people may have their best chances to make overtakes without people ahead of them making those mistakes. I also want to say that if somebody does go into the pits during a full course yellow, we can call that dipping into the pits.
So we are now almost 2 minutes left into the session. That was an hour and 10 minutes session because the driver had a little bit of time, to get used to the track in real conditions. So we'll have the qualifying starting soon. As we see at the moment, Robbie Kelly in first position. We're getting quite used to see him in the first positions. And we have an actual new driver who's new on the Discord, new in the community, Eduardo Alvarez, who's P2 in the Toyota, who did a 53 flat almost, following closely like Robbie Kelly, which is surprising because they're all new. We don't know their pace yet. What do you think they're going to do in the race?
Well, we'll have to see if they have the consistency to keep up with that, or that was just a lucky lap from them. I do have high hopes, though. I was about to say Robbie Kelly's in the lead. Everybody go home and start just watching the race for second place, much like Max Verstappen in 2023. But if Eduardo Alvarez can keep this pace up, we could actually have an interesting race for the lead today still. So I do hope that is the case.
We are going to get our own Jordan Johnson from the last race. Jordan Johnson is now named Eduardo Alvarez. That's a joke, by the way. But I'm also expecting Luis Alfonso following closely because they have a very good race pace. And also we have Fez Fox, Fez, who's the owner of this whole community, who's driving this round in P4 for the practice session, as we are now almost closing in and getting into the qualifying session.
Yes, everybody finishing their final lap if they are out on track. A lot of people are already in the pits, just getting their cars set up and ready for the qualifying, running a lot less fuel, running potentially a much softer tyre compound, and maybe a few extra changes to the car that make it a little bit more aggressive on the tyres, since they only need to worry about that one fast lap.
As we see now the waiting scene, almost every driver is into the pits. There's a few drivers still going around and pitting as the session ticks over to the start of the qualifying. I see a few drivers going out. Maybe an unsafe release that you don't see on the stream. An unsafe release from Christian Klippert.
Christian Klippert has been running quite a lot of training races for people in the Simufur community, which has been greatly appreciated. If they are the one who has caused the unsafe release, that could be a little bit embarrassing for them, but see if that applies in qualifying or not. The clock has just ticked over from 30 minutes. There's 30 minutes remaining now. The qualifying is now starting. First cars are out now. That looks like Fez Fox being chased by Robbie Kelly as if it's the start of the race. Of course it's not. And I do believe overtaking is, much like our other series, not allowed. So Fez does have the window ahead of him, and the hypercars behind chasing will have to find their own windows to set these laps. With the pace difference between them, it could be interesting to see how many laps have to be aborted because they catch traffic ahead of them. Does look like Fez let RK through at that point. Both of them from the same region, potentially working with each other, giving each other a bit of a slipstream, but this is the out lap.
So the ruling in the league is mostly about if you want to let people pass, the other driver won't get penalized if they pass a driver that let them pass. If they force the pass while being in a qualifying lap or an out lap, if they're both on the out lap, there might be a penalty coming their way. However, it's not something I can confirm now, and it's something that only the drivers will have to see after the race.
Depend on if that move RK made was Fez getting out of the way or Fez just making a slight mistake, letting it happen. Robbie Kelly coming around the final corner now, hopefully having warmed up their tyres and used up a bit of the hybrid to go onto their first flying lap, coming up the hill and going around the first hairpin, using some of that sausage curb, maybe a little bit much because they got a bit of a bounce. Flat through turn 2 and coming through to the S's. Now looks like they do have to lift for these corners. Not as much brake as in the GT, just a little bit coming through there. And it is quite difficult to see what's just ahead. But we are coming out of all of these wonderful S sections, hitting that sausage curb a bit more, bouncing around and coming down to the next hairpin, which is followed by the longest straight on the track. If I remember correctly, that's a little bit more sausage curb. Seems to be quite happy to bounce around on those things. Take that how you will. As he comes down the straight, there's no DRS for him, but he'll be using as much of the hybrid as possible, even though that doesn't actually add to the power. Coming into the next hairpin, where we may see quite a lot of heavy braking, going for overtakes in the race for now, though. Just going for the shortest possible braking point for the lap time. Coming through the final sector now, we're going into one of the last hairpins. There is one more hairpin to go, but we're coming into the sweeper at the end of the circuit. Little bit lifting, but still no brakes, just going straight out. Penultimate corner. Once again, just hovering over that sausage curve, coming into the final hairpin. And making it around. Looks like there was no track limits cut there, so this will be the first flying lap of qualifying, and it is a 1 minute 53.3. Fez Fox comes in just behind with a 55.1, just jumped by Clipper with a 54.8. New provisional pole position already taken by Luis Alfonso with a 153.2.
I think we're going to see some action even in this qualifying session. We didn't even... I don't think Eduardo Alvarez did a lap yet. No, Eduardo Alvarez is still doing the lap at the moment. So there's gonna be a lot of fighting in the top positions, as we see still Luis Alfonso going around the track and maybe even getting faster, which is quite interesting. How they can get so fast all of a sudden. It's like they have unlimited speed.
Well, they could have potentially been hiding their cards from people up until now. That is a strategy some drivers like to do. And depending on if they feel like they're really going for the top positions or not, it can be a very reasonable one to go for. Indeed, Alfonso coming around now, overtaking I'm not saying they're going to be a backmarker Porsche, but person who's clearly not on a lap or has abandoned their lap to let them through. Not sure if I can see them on any kind of improvement at the moment. Okay, also going for a faster lap to try and take that top spot off of Alfonso. Vossi is in P3, so it's an all Porsche second row as it stands, with Tigris and Van Veetland. Kelly does cross the line and is now 4.5 tenths ahead of Alfonso. Does Alfonso have any kind of answer? It doesn't. Yes, they do. It's an extra 2 tenths, but that is still the obvious name right in the front.
Doesn't go quite enough to take back that pole position, that provisional pole position from Robbie Kelly, as we see still Luis Alfonso going through corners 3, 4, 5, and now moving on to the next S-turns. There's quite a bit of S-turns here. Like, it's weirdly blended within the big straight lines, and also the heavy braking that Christian Clippert is going to go through right now. And then it's going to be followed by, as I said, big straight line. COTA is... I don't like COTA. I don't know if you like driving COTA. Honestly, it's not my cup of tea.
I would want to think these cars are a little bit nicer to drive around here than something like a GT car, with a bit of extra aerodynamics and a bit of extra rotation in it, but then you don't have ABS in these cars, and those heavy braking zones with all of the hairpins we have are not going to make it very fun at all in my eyes. But that's why I'm in the commentary box and everybody else is currently on track. They clearly have different opinions to me, and they are all quite happy to be.
As we see Christian Clippert going on to turn 19, then a small straight with the pit lane entry at the left, and then turn 20, closing in on the end of the lap as they slide a little bit out of the corner. I don't know if that's typical of the Porsche, because I've never driven the Porsche, but I'm expecting quite a few drivers to maybe slide a little bit out of those corners, since, well, the Hypercar is quite a tricky car to drive, even as you said, without ABS. Even on the throttle, sometimes you need a slidey car even on the throttle, so you need to set the traction control high as for hypercar standards. But for LMGT3, if you compare it to the LMGT3s on this game, the hypercar traction control is quite low. It lets you slide a little bit. I think it's. Do you like the traction control in this car? Maybe you had some struggles with it.
I don't remember having as much trouble with the traction control. COTA in particular, with the amount of slow speed corners and hairpins, you would want a bit more of a slidey car for that rotation out of the corners, if you can handle it. COTA coming across the line now in that amazingly sounding Aston Martin Valkyrie. Unfortunately, the Valkyrie seems to be all bark and no bite. It is one of the slower cars on the grid. We can see Fury April coming around one of the corners. Now that is a wonderful Ferrari to look at, the Ferrari being one of the fastest cars in LMU as well as in the Real WEC series. Fury April has also started racing with us again after not being around in Simufur for several years. We've had quite a few new drivers come in that time, and they thought Fury was new as well. They are not. They are a returning driver, and it's always lovely to see drivers able to come back.
Welcome back, Fury, as we see them going around the turn 11, and now we see Mohamed Afif Suhaimi starting the are they starting their lap? No, they're going on the big straight between T11 and turn 12, I think. Yes, so going a few tenths over the target time, I see. Mohamed is a driver that is quite fast in the Simufur, in the whole Simufur community. They are a pro class driver on ACC, pro class that we don't have around here. We don't have any classes at all. We don't run classes on this series because, as we said on the last stream, we don't know how the drivers can, change their skill from the GT3s from ACC to the hypercars on LMU. So we'd rather, wipe, start clean with the classes, see where everyone is, and then go from there.
I can use myself as quite a good example for that. I was competing at the front of the GT3 season we just did in an Assetto Corsa Competizione, and coming into the hypercars, I am dog doo-doo. So once again, that is why I'm in the commentary box rather than on the track. As we see Nicholas San going around now, improving on their time by 6.5 tenths. They'll be looking to see if they can get a few extra places. Fez Fox is only a tenth ahead of them. Vossi Tigris a few tenths ahead of that, so they are looking to gain quite a few extra places if they can keep those sector times up just from the gains in the first sector. For them, the front does still seem to be fairly static. It's Kelly in the lead with Alfonso behind. The one we were looking out for, Eduardo Alvarez, has only done a 54.6. So they are a little behind at the moment and are hopefully looking to rectify that very soon, as we are a couple of minutes away from the halfway part.
I may see Eduardo Alvarez doing a 54 flat, though I'm not really sure because I think my LMU overlay 53 flat actually. So Eduardo is now P3, so with actually very close to Luis Alfonso. As we see Vossi Tigris still going around the track as everyone tries to take the most of this session's time to put in as much laps as they can. Vossi Tigris, who was letting another Porsche go past. I think that was Sarah Van Fiplen's Porsche. Sarah Van Fiepland, who's going faster, a little bit faster, and sadly stays P4, even though that was a faster lap, that stays P4, very close to Eduardo Alvarez though, as she starts another lap going into turn 2.
Yes, the Ferrari is being the Ferrari of Kelly is currently being chased by 2 large Priuses as it stands with a Porsche, a Ferrari, and a Porsche behind them. It does seem that the classes of the field are the Porsche, the Ferrari, and the Prius in this series. As it stands, we have Newt, the first one outside of those big 3 cars in P7. As it stands, Van Beek, who got a very impressive 5th place in the Osota Franchitti last race, is only in 12th. And the next non-Ferrari Prius Porsche on the grid is Fez in the Cadillac, the one representing America, driving on the American track. They were initially going to be driving the BMW, but decided to swap to the Cadillac last minute.
Which is kind of weird because, well, you see a British driver driving a Cadillac on an American track. It feels like there's something missing to my cake. Though, you were talking about the Isota earlier. The Isota isn't a bad car, especially on LMU. It was a bad car IRL. It wasn't very fast, but apparently on LMU, it is quite a good car because it has quite a playful tail. So it slides, but not too much. The car likes to accompany the driver into the corner. So that's why you may see Tyler Van Beek maybe getting a little bit faster.
Yes, it would be good to see them increasing their pace. The Isota was one of the cars I tried when I was driving when I was trying to test all of the hypercars myself to see which ones I liked. The Isota was surprisingly good. It does feel like one of the Studio 397 developers maybe had a soft spot for the car and made it a bit better than it was in real life. Interestingly, having the Ferrari and the Isota doing fairly well in LMU is interesting because Kunos are the Italian developers, not Studio 397. But here we are.
Well, since we are talking about cars, did you try the Alpine? Because I haven't tried it. It's another car I didn't try. How are you feeling the Alpine?
I found it... it may have just been because I didn't have the right setup on it, but the base setup, I just found the car wanted to kill itself quite often. I understand, being French, that's probably what you'd want to do. But, yeah, it wasn't the car for me, and I moved on rather quickly.
You can't say that to that car. It's quite stylish. I mean, look at it. It's quite stylish. You can't say that.
It looks wonderful, but it's still horrible to drive and work with, and that is your typical French car.
I mean, okay, yes, and the fiability isn't that good as well, since it has a Mechachrome engine, as we know from the lower Formula Series Mechachrome engine, which isn't really good fiability-wise. Is there other cars that you tried and you liked driving? What was your pick for the championship before you signed out?
I was going to be taking the Cadillac. I really, really wanted to like the Aston, but as I said earlier, it's all bark and no bite. It was horrible to drive, and it wasn't even fast when I tried to rag it through the track. I got into another hypercar and found that it wasn't just me having a skill issue. The car is just not that good, which is a shame because it is starting to pick up the pace in WEC. And the past few WEC races, it's been nice to see the Aston doing relatively well compared to where it started in the year.
As we see Fabio Sol doing their lap, so we're going to do a little bit of a check on the leaderboard. Robbie Kelly, P1, it doesn't change. Why would it change? It's one of the fastest driver, almost esports pace on almost every sim. Then followed closely by Eduardo Alvarez, who's getting now who's getting fast as we were waiting to see. And then Luis Alfonso, P3, Sarah Van Fiepland in P4 as we have 11, I'd say 12 minutes left on this session.
Yeah, it's just over 10 minutes to go. People will be able to set maybe 3 or 4 more laps, depending on how long they want to qualify on a single set of tyres. The gap at the front is looking a lot closer. It is still Kelly in the lead, but Alvarez is there, maybe keeping Kelly on their toes, less than a tenth behind. It is either that or Kelly is trying to make everyone else think they're not as fast as they actually are. They could have some extra temps there that they're intentionally not putting in. Alvarez wasn't able to improve that lap and does slow down, come to the side, assuming they're coming in for another lap. Kelly is out looking for another improvement. Maybe they are looking to get those temps on the timing board now, just so they can sail off into the distance for the race and leave everyone else fighting for the scraps. But
Honestly,
we will definitely see about that.
I think Robbie Kelly has the necessary gap to be safe, because this is already quite a few fast laps. So for Robbie Kelly and Eduardo Alvarez as well, those are really fast laps. And you know, as we go on with the sessions, even though the times are going to get closer and closer, it's more and more difficult to get even faster with an already fast lap, especially if you cut corners. And as I just saw Robbie Kelly maybe losing a little bit of time through the corner at the end of the straight. Right now, Robbie Kelly is getting around the same time as they were doing before. It's almost a perfect lap, going very...
Their first sector is a bit slow. Their first sector is a bit slow, but their second sector has another 3 temps in it, proving that there is more time on the table if someone wants to take it. Will it be Kelly or someone else, as we are now into the final 10 minutes? Kelly does cross the line, and it isn't an improvement for them, but they do have purple sectors in sectors 2 and 3, so the time is there if they can get that first sector down.
Still kudos to them to be that consistent, because, well, I know it's quali laps and everything, you know, it's not real conditions, but still, being that close to your fastest lap is... I admire that, because usually I just spin away and then just get on with it. But yeah, no, Robbie Kelly manages to keep it on track as we see him going into T10 and then on T11.
Yes, coming into the hairpin now, going down the long straight. I think we'll need to see something like Jordan Johnson going for the overtake right at the start of the race at Bahrain if we want any race from Kelly, while the others may be able to get close to his time on qualifying. In the race, it may be a different thing entirely. Kelly showing their consistency, this time a lot closer to their fastest first sector. The second sector isn't as fast as the lap before, and it is just balancing out. They are 0.02 of a second off their fastest as it stands in the final sector, and it looks like they might be able to get a slight improvement from this, but it won't be a lot. My experience of racing Robbie Kelly in the past as well, generally if they're on pole and I'm in second, I will do what Jordan Johnson did. I'll get the jump on them and I'll be able to give them a race for maybe a few laps, knowing as soon as they get past me that race is over. They are crossing the line. They have just crossed the line. It doesn't look like it was an improvement for them. No improvement at all there, unfortunately, but they do still have that top spot with 7.5 minutes to go.
They still try. They are still going on with their laps. We see a Ferrari in provisional position, like pole position at the moment, with a 152.7. Did you know the COTA pole position time for the Ferrari was a 150.3, which is like 2 seconds faster, even more than 2 seconds faster.
Well, that could be some differences between the sim and real life, or it could just be that we're all just pretenders and the real life drivers are still that much better than us. I think what we'd really need to see is the person who did get pole at COTA this year have a go in the same car in LMU and see what they can do there.
We have different conditions as well. It's quite hot today. I don't know what was the weather that time, but we have, as I said at the intro, we have quite a hot weather going on, with maybe getting a little bit colder during the end of the race. But for now, the drivers have to deal with a very hot track. I think it has to be around for now it's 48 degrees, so the tarmac is 48.4 degrees Celsius hot, as we see Jesper Swingley hitting that sweet turn 11 and going onto the straight. I think I just saw Robbie Kelly almost doing a faster lap, but then just parked away, so they didn't do a faster lap.
Yeah, they are in the pits as it stands right now, as has already been pointed out in the stream chat. There are some names at the bottom which are in the pit lane. They had signed up to race today, but they are not with us on the track at the moment. So just for Swingley coming around the final corners now. This is an improvement for them. Has the track heated up, perhaps? Maybe that is why people are getting to grips with the track, but don't have the grip to actually get to grips with getting faster times. Not sure about the variation of the temperature on the track right now, but it does look very hot, and that is going to make things interesting for the race itself. Apparently that's a purple sector for Jesper Swingley, even though it is 7.5 tenths off their fastest. That is interesting. They look to be catching up one of the Astons right now, so they may not get this lap in. We have 4.5 minutes left, so I expect 2 laps from some people, perhaps 3 if they are already coming around to start their flying laps. As Sarah is right now, I believe this is coming through the final corner. Yes, it is. So Sarah Van Fiepland will be able to get 3 more laps. And coming up to the first corner now, she is currently in P4 with 4 tenths to catch up to the leaders. And they are the leading Porsche, so if they can't get any more of an improvement, they can definitely blame the car.
Porsche, which is the first, I'd say, out of meta car in the top 5, because, well, I say that even though there's a Toyota in P2 and 3, but the Toyota is also a fast car, as we see Sarah Van Fiepland going into T10 and then hard braking into turn 11, touching that apex very tightly, and then full on throttle going onto the start of the straight, which is quite a bit of a long straight. I don't think I've ever seen a straight that big. Starting to approach turn 12, again hard braking, then turning while doing a little bit of a trail braking to make the car turn, hitting that apex, then going into turn 13 and 14, which is quite a weird part of the track. It's quite squarey. Is that a word?
That looked like that could have been a bit of track limits. I'm not too sure. I do think the track limits do look a bit nicer in LMU than they are in ACC. There does seem to be a bit more of a chance to still have a lap going if you do slightly go over, just as long as you haven't gained too much of an advantage. While ACC does allow that in races, it doesn't allow it in qualifying. See if Van Fiepland has been able to use that to get any advantage. It doesn't look like they've improved their time crossing the line now. 54-7 for not an improvement.
I think it was a little bit of a fumble into the last sector.
Yeah, and it looks like they're catching traffic now while they are being let through. Will that dirty air affect them, especially coming into the S's? Now we've got 2 minutes to go, so everybody that's currently out should be on their final lap. Alvarez is on an out lap, so they may be able to squeeze in one extra lap and see if they can topple Kelly. Kelly is on a lap as it stands as well. Fez Fox is in the pits. Mohamed Afif Suhaimi is in the pits, so that's their qualifying's over. Louise Gordon is in the pits. Sarah Emberson, Zion Stewart, and JPEG Fox are all in the pits. That's their qualifying's over as it stands. They will not gain any more positions. So Alfonso coming around now. This will be their final lap. It does look like Kelly's had an improvement. That's a 52.6, so they're now 2 tenths clear of Alvarez. Alvarez is still out on a lap, though, and they're still on an out lap, and they should be able to see if they can respond to that. We can have something other than the usual results at the front. Alfonso is in a very respectable P3, though. An unfortunate penalty for them in the last round dropped them down to P4 and gave Van der Woede that surprise podium. They'll be looking to make amends and keep that podium this time around. Does look like they're on an improvement at the moment. Not a huge one, but could potentially be enough coming into the final sector, depending on their sector 2 times. They might be able to take that number 2 spot. They are up, but again, it's close. Doesn't look like it'll be enough of an improvement unless they can find something in the last few corners and take that P2 away. As it stands, they are 4 tenths away from Robbie Kelly, and they are 2 tenths away from Alvarez, so they're going to need at least another 1.5 to jump up to second place. I can't see first place happening just yet as they're coming through penultimate corner and the final corner. The timer is now 0, so anybody that is on their laps now, this is it. This will be the end of qualifying. Alfonso crosses the line. And it is I think it's a very slight improvement, but it's nowhere near enough to gain any positions. We have Van Fietland coming around hairpin now. It is a green first sector for them, but I'm not sure if that's going to be enough for them to gain any positions as well. They are close to Alfonso, so it could be enough to get into P3. Kelly's crossed the line and done a 52.4. I said that time was there. It is that time is now there. That is Robbie Kelly being like that Verstappen meme. Haha, you thought it would be different this time. Alvarez is 3.5 tenths away, is still on a lap. Although looking at their first sector time, I think that's that for them. They are not on anywhere near enough of an improvement unless they somehow add some illegal mods to their car for the last 2 sectors. So I think that's their qualifying over. Van Fietland has gotten a faster sector 2. Coming through the final corner, can they get any extra places? Could they take that P3 off of Alfonso? Crossing the line now. No, not enough of an improvement. I don't think it was an improvement at all, actually. Those timing bars are a little bit confusing. Alvarez crosses the line and it's nowhere near enough of an improvement. That is Robbie Kelly in pole position. I think we have one person left setting a lap. That is Sierra Thomas. And can they gain any extra places? That is them coming around. I think that's still the first sector.
I don't think Sierra Thomas is on a lap. I think...
No, even if they are on a lap, that's 3.9. Yeah. So, okay, they just... Ooh. That was a massive gust of wind. That was a massive gust of wind that just pushed them off the track. Right, that is the end of qualifying then.
So we are going to go on to the grid now at the start of the race. 2 minutes 43 minutes. 2 minutes 40 seconds before the start of the race. As we saw earlier, Robbie Kelly in first position, and then Eduardo Alvarez. There we go, showing on screen. Eduardo Alvarez, which they're new, so whole new driver. We can't predict them. Luis Alfonso in third, Sarah Van Fipland in fourth, followed then by Fabio Sol in P5, Parker Olsen in P6, and then Niklas Zahn in the Ferrari in P7, Adrian Newt, which is the top Alpine in P8, Christian Klippert in P9, Ferry April in P10. Then under the top 10, we have Vossi Tigris in P11, Fest Fox in P12, and then Tyler Van Beek in P13 with the COTA, Mohamed Afif Suhami in P14 with the Peugeot, Sierra Thomas, Toyota P15, Jasper Swingley, Ferrari P16, Lewis Gordon in the Porsche in P17, Blade Wolf in P18 in the Peugeot, Sarah Embers in the BMW P19, Zion Stewart P20, and then COTA P21, and then I think JPEG last one P22, as we see the people that forgot to unregister from this race. We can shame them, I think. Boo, shame on you.
They will have to be careful about that. If they do that again, they may get kicked out from the series entirely, and those spaces will be open to other drivers. We have 1 minute to go until the start of the race. We are going to see probably quite an interesting turn one. MNU, what do you think? Do you think Kelly will be able to keep the lead into turn one this time? Or will we potentially see a race for a few laps?
Into the first corner, I think Robbie Kelly is going to keep it because he's starting on the inside line. So it's like he's getting, the princess treatment as Eduardo Alvarez starts on the outside line. But I think seeing Eduardo Alvarez quali pace, I think we might see a bit of a fight, maybe even longer during the whole race, because we're going to see pit stop shenanigans maybe happens, because we still don't know if the race is going to happen without any pit stops, or if people are going to need to pit stop during the race.
The timer has just gone out for the race itself, so we should be able to see all the cars going for their rolling start now. Compared to other series, as you may have seen from the first race, you won't be having a full lap. While they do have tyre warmers, they do not have a full lap to get those tyres up to an even more optimal temperature, and they do not have the chance to drain their hybrid systems. So we could be in for an interesting first corner. We got the Ferrari being chased by two Priuses, then a Porsche, and then another Prius. A lot of Priuses at the front today. Toyota does seem to be a pretty nice car around here. But if your name is not R. Kelly, you're not going to be in that lead for the start. One more corner to go around for the very short formation that we are having here, and in just a moment we should have the green flag. The green flag has gone now, the hour has started. Robbie Kelly does have a brilliant start there, the two Toyotas trying to catch up. We got the Porsche coming in there as well, and here's the first corner. All of them lock up, there's contact between the Priuses, that's both of them being taken out. I think there's a massive pile. We are getting a full course yellow coming in now. Full course yellow in effect. We could have seen that one coming, but that does mean all the cars will now be on their pit speed limiter. I think the winner from that was Kelly. It looked like they got away clean. The timing board doesn't say that just yet. We will have to see once everybody's back up to driving speed. No, that is Van Fiepland in the lead.
As the full course yellow is ending now, and yeah, we see Sarah Fittler. That took. What's happening? I'm so confused. I was looking. I'm not gonna lie. I was looking at Eduardo Alvarez, who's the loser in all of what happened here. Basically, I think that was another. I think I saw another Toyota. I think that was the Toyota from Luis Alfonso, who. I wouldn't call it punted, but barged a little bit too fast into Eduardo's sides and basically spun them out. And Sarah Fiedland just took P1 out of nowhere. What's happening? I'm so confused.
Van Fietland gets very lucky at the start there, takes the lead. Parker Olsen has taken second place. Alfonso seems to have gotten better out of both of them, but Kelly does get that place back, it looks like. But Alfonso still has the inside coming into the hairpin. They are neck and neck, but it looks like Kelly's just got slightly better drive out of the corner. Kelly is back in P3. I do believe what happened between the two Priuses there is both of them have a name beginning with Al and thought they were two alike. Only one of them could survive the first corner, and it was Alfonso that won out. Of course, the stewards may have a different opinion of what happened there, and we won't be able to see the results of that today. Coming back to the end of the first lap, though, Van Fietland is just under a second ahead. No DRS to worry about in these cars, but there will still be some slipstream from the cars behind. Olsen and Kelly, friends off of the track, both in Ferraris. Will Kelly be as nice to them on the track as they are off the track, though? That is the next thing to be seen. Alfonso chasing in P4. As we see in typical WEC style, the Ferraris all push up to the front, although it is still Van Fietland leaving the race as it stands. Parker Olsen does seem to be catching them up. That could have been a bit of track limits, I'm not entirely sure, but maybe they're using up all of their track limit warnings now to try and get that track position. I have been told by some of the drivers this track is very difficult to overtake on, especially when there's a bit of a gap. Parker will have a bit of a slipstream on Sarah here, but it doesn't look like it's anywhere near enough. If anything, Van Fietland is pulling away, and it's Robbie Kelly getting the advantage to the slipstream behind, followed by Alfonso. Fury April has gained quite a few places, is now in 5th. Fez Fox up to 7th. They are battling of Saul at the moment. That's Cadillac versus Prius. V8 motor versus Prius engine, and it looks like either that was a big slip from Parker or Robbie Kelly, or they let Robbie Kelly through. We've still got Fez Fox racing the Prius right there, followed by another Porsche. They want to keep it clean if they don't want to lose those positions to Saul. Newt in P9 behind, being chased by the Isotta of Van Beek. The Isotta now into the top 10 as well. Some impressive drives there, if a little bit of luck was involved as well. Looks like Kelly has lost a little bit of time to Van Fietland, but now doesn't have Parker Olsen in the way. How long will Van Fietland be able to stay in that lead?
Not really long, as Robbie Kelly managed to do the fastest lap of the race just now. So I think it won't last for long. I think RK has it already won for today.
That was a...
We see now.
Was that the front? I think that was the Alpine. It was a blue car. Yeah, Newt has dropped down to 13th. As I mentioned earlier, the French car decided it didn't want to live anymore and wanted to kill itself. So Newt has been able to wrestle it back onto the track to keep going, but they have lost quite a lot of places doing that, and are now being chased by Sierra Thomas, who I believe is in another Prius, if I'm not mistaken. No, that is a Cadillac? Hard to see, it is just an all-black car. Not one of the typical in-game liveries we're used to. Of course, Simufur is well known for its wonderful liveries. We don't have a lot of liveries in the race today, though, thanks to LMU demanding you pay to use your online liveries, which I still very much despise, but this is why we have so many in-game liveries rather than the wonderful, colourful, furry paint schemes that we tend to see in these races.
I mean, we can still see a few new liveries, especially from the Bluey team, which are very well known for having their, well, blue livery, makes sense. I'm watching Newt at the moment on my side. They don't seem to have a lot of damage, at least no suspension damage. They only have like front end damage and rear end damage. They still have their wings, so everything looks fine at the moment. They just lost big amount of positions, as we see Vossi fighting as of now with Fez Fox and Fabio Sol behind in the Prius. I think, I honestly think this, I still think Vossi will not be able to catch Fez. Fez has a very, from what I've seen, Fez is quick basically in the hypercars. He's very quick. He's kind of, he just knows how to drive them, and he didn't get crushed into because Fez is known in the community for being crushed into on the first races. Even though he does nothing, he gets crushed into. Poor guy.
Yeah, Fez is rather unfortunate in these races. He is the founder of Simufur, and you think people would be nicer to him at the start of races, but apparently not. There is no respect for authority on the track. That is Fez fighting a Fury April here, which might give Vossi behind a chance to keep up. Fez does seem to have the pace in the race, and it is almost 4 cars coming together through these hairpins, which doesn't seem very fun at all. There is a whole train there, in fact, that Fury is currently holding up. A wonderful position for them to be in. I have also been informed that what happened with Robbie Kelly was that they span during the start of the full course yellow, slowing down for it. That doesn't seem to matter though, because they are chasing Van Fietland for the lead right now. Van Fietland doing all she can to hold the place, but Kelly absolutely has the pace, having mostly pulled away from Olsen. The only reason they haven't pulled away more is because there is a Porsche in the way of this being a Ferrari 1-2. She did go a little bit wide there, but not enough to lose it. Van Fietland being a very experienced driver within Simufur, having been around from nearly the start. That still looks like track limits to me when they go over the sausage curve like that, but I guess it isn't. Otherwise, they wouldn't keep doing it, I'd hope. No sausage curve. They would be slowing down to avoid the warnings, you'd hope, or as I mentioned before, maybe they're just eating those warnings now because they want that track position. More slipstream coming here, coming into the braking.
Safety rating for those races, mind you, so it kind of, you know, they can take it as long as they don't take the penalty when they go over that 4 points limit.
Yes, the system is a bit different to what we're used to in Assetto Corsa Competizione. In Assetto Corsa Competizione, you get a warning. It's a warning. After 4 warnings, you get a drive-through penalty. Here, you have points, but the points are awarded based on the severity of the cut. You can have a very small cut that only gives you 0.025 of a track warning point, or you can have a very severe one that gives you 2 full points, and many in between cases as well. Still glued to the back of Van Fietland is Robbie Kelly, looking to take the second win of the championship. Olsen is about the same distance as they were before and is being chased by Alfonso, looking to take that podium place back, as we have Vossi coming in against Fez Fox here, going into the first corner. Again, Fez Fox was saying the reason he swapped to the Cadillac was because it had better front end than the BMW. Not quite as good on the brakes, he said, but it looks like that front end is getting him through the corners enough. He seems to be that much happier with it to be running in P6 as it stands. They are still chasing Fury April. The Ferrari still looking strong here. Alfonso going for the move on Olsen, and it looks pretty clean, but Olsen gets the switch back going down the straight. Alfonso will have the slipstream now, and we did completely miss. Robbie Kelly has taken the lead from Van Fietland and is already pulling away. I want to say, unless we have any pit lane shenanigans like last week, that is probably Robbie Kelly's race sealed already. Everybody go home when it comes to the first place. We're just going to be watching the race for second now.
Yeah, talking about pit stops, I'm also watching a little bit of a virtual energy shenanigans, virtual energy, which is a way for the hypercars to track the total amount of energy, not only the fuel, but also the electrical energy in the cars, but also a way to bump them, by the way, because you can bump them by multiple ways. Like you can, for example, reduce the amount of actual virtual energy in the car, or you can even make the pit stop a little bit longer if a car is too fast, for example. So I'm watching the virtual energy going on at the moment, and I see, the two top cars, Robbie Kelly and Sarah Van Fiepland, they are at now 78% on my side, which doesn't look like to be the same on the graphics. I think that's still a bit of a LMU issue. So taking my graph as truth, from what I'm seeing, they might be able to maybe roll on with it if they lift big time through the hairpin, for example. But otherwise, I don't think there's going to be any pit lane shenanigans. I think Robbie Kelly has it done already. I think that's already a P1 from him.
Yeah, we can get that little bit of black tape and just put it over that part of the stream right now. Forget P1 exists. We're still looking at the race for, maybe not even P2 at this point. I think the race is really for P3. We can see the race for P5 here still. That is Vossi Tigris, who has been able to get past Fez Fox. The Cadillac maybe had a bit of a slide or something along those lines, and Vossi was able to get past. But that race is still not over. Fury April is still leading that train that is already 12 seconds behind the top four. So we already have a separate race going on here. Looking at some of the energies remaining, we are nearly a quarter of the way through the race. It does look like a lot of people will not be able to do that fabled zero stop we've heard about. Tyler Van Beek has gone up into P9 as well. Looks like it may have been Zan that lost out there, if I remember correctly. They're now chasing the Prius of Saul, with Fez Fox just ahead. That is COTA again proving itself to be much better in the simulator than it was in real life. We did also just see on the heads-up display on the stream now that some of the cars were running multiple different tyre compounds. I think a lot of the front runners were running hards on the front and mediums on the rear, which makes sense from all of the complaints we heard about front tyre degradation.
We see still the COTA sliding around on the track. I'm trying to get my data up. LMU is a little bit struggling with that, as we still see Tyler Van Beek. So going into, there we go, I got my data back. Going into turn 11, so there's still that little bit of a train, which Fury is all the way in front, trying to defend from Vossi Tigris, who actually overtook Fez Fox. I was saying Fez actually could defend against Vossi, but apparently that wasn't the case. Vossi is trying to attack Fury from the outside, maybe trying to get a switchback on that turn 12, but didn't quite make through Fury April, which she's tumbling down with everyone trying to overtake her. I wonder if she's a little bit overwhelmed by all the other cars trying to pass through, she's trying to be a wall. I can't even make up a wordplay with her name and wall, which is a shame because that would be quite funny. So Fury April, P6, Vossi Tigris, P5, and then we still have that bit of a train as we see Fez Fox fighting with the Prius of Fabio Sol, and Niklas Zahn, who's trying to slowly getting his way in through the first corner, maybe trying to get the switch back, and getting a little bit too much on the outside. And maybe getting even overtaken by the Isota of Tyler Van Beek. Tyler Van Beek, which he is keeping that pace up. Wow. He starts, so I'm seeing a little bit of the virtual energy here and there. It's still following quite of the same scheme. With Adrian Newt being the highest energy saver at the moment, with 74%.
You definitely could be going for that zero stop strategy, as we mentioned before, if that's the amount of virtual energy they have left. They did get a bit of a short stick with their pit strategy in the last race. Could be looking for amends here to see if they can get those extra places from other people needing to splash and dash at the end. They could, in theory, on paper, just keep going. They could be hoping for another full course yellow to do a bit more saving there as well, although that could give other people a cheaper pit stop as well. Fury April was doing a wonderful job trying to keep the people ahead, well, the people behind, but Vossi Tigris has shown that they are doing quite a good job of overtaking today. They've gotten past Fezfox, and they have now gotten past Fury April as well. We see Alvarez looking to make up lost positions as they are now chasing Adrian Newt for 11th. And I think they do absolutely have the pace. It depends on how much damage they have, but Newt does have damage as well on that Alpine from the spin we saw earlier. A bit of a slipstream there, but it doesn't look anywhere near enough to go for a move into the first corner. That hill taking away a lot of the momentum. So it may be coming into the next heavy braking zone that Prius will go for that move and try to make their way up the field, although it is going to be quite a tall order now with how far behind a lot of people are from the top four.
Alvarez, who started P20 after that first rush through T1, who's now P12, so that's quite a bit of catching back and still having to fight through. Well, here as we see Adrian Newt, but further down the road we still have, you know, Tyler Van Beek. We have all that little train, which is still led by Fury April, almost being overtaken by Fez Fox, who's thinking of the switchback, but slid a little bit, still sliding at the end of that corner, and then touching a little bit of the rear of Fury April, making the gap be even larger. So there's 0.5 seconds between Fury April.
Freeway contact.
Still sliding. As positions, there's a lot of fighting in that middle train. It's a lot of action. That's actually, it's quite entertaining. I like that. LMU is a very good sim for, you know, close fighting and stuff like that, as we mentioned on the last race. Since LMU doesn't have, you know, that kind of, I will call it sucky feeling, but it's not really the word here. But as, for example, ACC or iRacing, when a car collides, iRacing has the habit of sucking the car in on the other car, so it makes the contact weird because the cars don't want to leave each other. But then on ACC it's the opposite. The cars, once they contact each other, they go separate ways. It's like there's a force field going around. Whereas on LMU, the fighting goes usually well, even with high ping, even with quite a bit of lag. People can fight, maybe scrub a little bit, as Fez overtook Fury April. Fury April, who is going for a big dive with no contact and getting the position back. Oh, that was massive. There's fighting everywhere. I'm struggling to follow everything, I'm not gonna lie.
This is some brilliant racing we're watching here. As mentioned, there's a little bit of contact here and there, but LMU doesn't have the netcode of Assetto Corsa Competizione. Fury April, we thought might have been out as soon as they got overtaken, but they're not. They're still in the fight here. and it is bumper to bumper between all of them. The cars behind trying to get some kind of advantage throughout. Sol is on the outside here with Zam behind as well. A lot of curb taken through there, and it looks like that has given some advantage to Sol to get through, and Fury April could get a double overtaken here, which is a real shame for how well they've been battling. But that doesn't mean the fight's over. Fez, having a little bit of clean air now, is going to be trying to run away a bit and consolidate their gains here. Alvarez going on the inside of Van Beek, going through the final corner. That looks like it's sorted since they have the inside for the next corner, but the Asota is starting to pull away a little bit. The Prius may not have that extra power that the Asota does. Coming through the braking, they have to be careful of the Ferrari ahead, but also careful of each other. Another slight hit there, but they were able to keep going, and that is Alvarez ahead of Van Beek now. Some brilliant racing here. I think if any of these contacts had happened in ACC, those really tight suspensions and dampers that ACC likes in its setups would have sent the cars into different zip codes. But thankfully, here we can have that slight contact, minor bit of damage, nothing to worry about, and keep racing. Really good battling here as they keep going. That is an Alpine chasing Van Beek chasing the Prius, and Fury April is ahead for now with Zan and Fox trying to get some extra places, but that is Sol ahead of Fox as well. There's been another overtake there that we may have just missed, but the battling just keeps going. The train is maybe a little bit separated now, but we are keeping going through these braking zones. See if anybody wants to try and make a move coming through here. Not quite. Do have Sierra Thomas in P13 right now with Swingley just behind. That is Clipper just a few seconds behind as well. That's the first I think we've seen of them in the race. Keeping it steady between themselves while everyone battles ahead. They may be able to gain some places there. That is Sol going for a move on April. Going side by side, going through the final corner. The Alpine behind looking to see if they can get some slipstream and get a gain on both of them as they go side by side coming up the hill. Either of them could come out of this, the better. They do contact a little bit again, and it is the Ferrari that gets ahead. Doesn't get as good as a run, though. More bonking between each other. And that is Adrian. That is the friend. Oh! That is our first bad contact out of all of this battling. It was a shame that we had to see that now, but almost a surprise that it took this long to happen as well. Adrian Newt was able to get those gains they wanted at the cost of Fury April and Sol coming together. They're both dropping positions now, with everyone behind being the benefactors of such incidents. That is Clippert going side by side with Swingley now, with Sol behind looking to gain as much as places back as they can. A lot of Ferraris here. Ferrari versus Porsche versus Prius. Top three manufacturers in this series, all at it. Not quite at the front at the moment, but these ones are fighting still to look for the top 10. It's the Porsche going in on the inside there, but it could be a switchback. It is a switchback. We're seeing a lot of these in this race. COTA may be horrible to drive for a lot of people, but it does seem to bring some good racing through these braking zones. That is one of the other Toyotas just behind, and Swingley's off. That is unfortunate for them. They lose both of the places, are now in P14. Their next driver behind is Blade Wolf Keigikayo, the fastest driver in the Peugeot right now. 6.6 seconds behind. As we come back to the fight here, there is a yellow flag somewhere on the track. Don't think it's enough for another full course yellow, so nobody's going to make that pit stop. If we have a look at the amount of energy remaining on the cars,
it's all around, I'd say it's around 53, some cars even hitting sometimes 60%. which is pretty good, you know. It's we are like 53 minutes into the race. There's 53 minutes left. I'm sorry.
As it
and
stands, I'm thinking Van Beek is maybe the only one who has a chance of making the race without any pit stops, and that would be interesting to see how the COTA can handle that. They have 58% energy left compared to a lot of people's 40s, low 50s, not quite at the halfway mark yet. It looks like, as it stands, Van Beek stands to gain the most from the pit strategy if they're able to keep it going without making that splash and dash near the end. Nicholas Sand going for a move here. Oh, there's a Toyota on the side, though. Haven't quite caught that myself. They stay ahead. They don't have the inside for this. That is Alvarez, I think, getting ahead now, looking to chase the... I think that's the COTA ahead. No, that is the Cadillac of Fez Fox, my apologies.
Machine.
I need to learn my hypercars, even with the... It doesn't help that when you look at the back of them, a lot of them look pretty similar to each other. That is my excuse.
They share some of they share sometimes similar chassis. That's why.
Yeah, it's all not that interesting. One thing I will give the Alpine, I very much like the logos it has on the back. Those tail lights are very nice. And when it was first revealed next to the Formula 1 car a year or two ago, it was quite entertaining because the WEC Hypercar just looked that much better than the F1 car. The F1 car might not look so bad if it wasn't put against something that looked as nice as the Hypercar.
So, Fury April just went out of the pits as of now. My guess is to repair some damage. So they are getting blue flagged by Fez, you know, all that little train that we saw just earlier. So Fez, Eduardo Alvarez, Niklas, even now Tyler Van Beek, which is he's behind. He's trying to get through, and Fury's trying to not lose too much time, but also not just go on the side of the track and just let them pass like that. So there's still a fight going on at the front with Fez Fox, which is he's P6, and Eduardo Alvarez is still on a charge going on at the moment in P7, trying to get past Fez, locking a little bit through that turn 12, and just trying to get that Prius around without making the rear slide, because the Prius is a little bit, I call it the Prius now. The Toyota is a little bit too slidey on the rear of the car. Eduardo still has damage. They didn't pit. There wasn't any pit from anyone except Fury April, as we see the both of the cars going into turn 19 and now turn 20, with maybe Eduardo Alvarez getting that run. No, it looks like that. It looks like that Caddy, the Freedom Machine, is faster on the straight line. But as you said earlier, Azure, it's bad on the brakes.
Yeah, the Cadillac, one of the cars that's a bit harder on the brakes. I apologise, I've been slightly distracted by the fact that I'm apparently Dutch and or German. That is not the case, I can assure you. I am British. As we see the Toyota nearly going for a move on the Cadillac there, it looks like the Cadillac is maybe starting to struggle a little bit on those tyres, and Alvarez is holding on to theirs fairly well, considering they did have a little bit of damage at the start. It clearly wasn't enough to really affect their pace, just enough to push them off of the track. I think we now have both of the commentators being accused of being Dutch, which I can assure you is not the case. We now have, lovely train here. Fez Fox is now the leader of the train, leaving Vossi Tigris in a bit of a boring race for themselves. They are 15 seconds ahead of Fez, and they are 15 seconds behind Alfonso. So that is a kind of boring race for them. Maybe they like that, maybe they don't. They can focus on their lap times, don't have to worry about anyone else around them. I have no idea who Max Fluffy is. And yes, Saber is thankfully pointing out the correct information just after that. Parker Olsen doing a great job to stay in P3 with Alfonso still chasing them, still all to play for. We are now halfway through the race, so we could potentially see some people going for a pit stop if they know they can't make it till the end, or we could see everybody slashing and dashing right at the end as well, with the potential for full course yellow. We will see about that. As it stands, I think Van Beek still has the best chance of going with no stops. They are 4 places ahead as it stands in 9th place.
We'll see how it goes for everyone else, because it's kind of we're still, everyone is in the middle of a fight. I don't think even the drivers themselves know if they will be able to go back to the pits, if they will do a pit stop or no. But it looks like it's almost all right for almost all the drivers. I still don't know if LMU gives me the correct data, as we see Parker Olsen entering sector 3 following Sarah Vipland. Parker Olsen, who's 2 seconds behind Sarah and 1.5 seconds in front of Luis Alfonso. Those 3 drivers, so P2, P3 and P4, looks like they had a normal race overall. They are in their pace, and I wouldn't say that, but also a little bit. It looks like it's quite boring for them. They're trying to catch each other, but can't quite get it. I think Luis Alfonso is just a little bit faster than Parcho, that Parker also. But yeah, no, everyone is in their own pace, with Robbie Kelly still in P1, still getting one hell of a race. I'd say a perfect race. Well, almost perfect race, because they did spin out because of the full course yellow call at the start of the race, but they managed to crawl it back. They managed to keep it back. They managed to keep P1 at the end of the day, and no, I think that's P1 for sure for Robbie Kelly. There's still other fights going on track at the moment. There's still the train of Fez, Niklas, and Tyler Van Beek, which are, I'd say, around 0.5 seconds from each other, with Eduardo Alvarez still on a charge, trying to catch Vossi Tigris back, but I don't think they will be able to catch. Oh, wait, no, actually, they might be able to catch them. There's still 25 minutes left on the race. Niklas on the TV, 0.2 seconds behind. Fez Fox doing a little bit of a trying to get Fez to go defensive, but Fez doesn't quite go for it, doesn't get the prank going on, the trolling going on. So maybe that's gonna go for a dive at the end of this straight. I don't think that's gonna go for a dive, because I don't think the ooh, and that was a little bit of a slide from Fez Fox. So still that bit of a train with Adrian Newt in P10 closing the train. Actually, Adrian Newt is quite far away from that train, 4 seconds behind that train. So I see a blue flag car that went past it. It is Fury April, still the only person that went into the pit lane, as we see Fez Fox and Niklas San into the 19th corner, and then turn 20 going into the straight. Niklas San still trying to get that Freedom Machine on the straight, but that's not working quite much, because the Freedom Machine is powered by a big V8 motor. But still difference in the braking. Niklas still manages to get, that bit of a crumble left by the Cadillac. But it's still, everyone's into their pace, right? When I say that, Fez Fox slides a little bit into the wiggly side of the track. But what I'm seeing through this little train, mostly, is that Tyler Van Beek is catching everyone. And when I was trying to say this sentence, he slid a little bit on the side of the track and just lost all of the time gate. That's superb. I feel like I'm getting reversed commentator cursed.
Yeah, that is unfortunate, but they do still have the most virtual energy out of anybody. That could be some of the BOP in their favor, perhaps, but we will see if they're able to actually make any use of that near the end. We have 23 minutes left of the race, and they have just over 40% of their virtual energy remaining. If the maths in the top of my head figures out, they might just be able to make it to the end without making a pit stop, provided they don't end up doing something that uses up a lot more virtual energy at once. That is Alfonso right on the back of Olsen, though. We may have a change on the podium. To stop it being a Ferrari double podium, we will see it's Prius versus Ferrari. That Toyota hybrid basically making it exactly that. Alfonso was a second faster than Olsen the last lap, so either Olsen made a mistake or their tyre degradation is coming in far more than the Toyotas. Toyota having been dominant in endurance racing for quite a while before Hypercar was introduced as a class. They may have already figured out how to look after their tyres and have the better tyres for the run right now. They'll have a little bit of slipstream on that Ferrari, but I don't think that's anywhere near a close enough of a gap to go for a move here. You can see a small amount of damage on the back of Parker Olsen's Ferrari. Must have been a slight coming together earlier on in the race, but it isn't enough to stop them. They are still doing what they can to hold on to that podium against Alfonso.
Looks like most drivers have some amount of damage. As you said, Parker Olsen has that rear end damage, but also the front end, surprisingly. Luis Alfonso, same thing. Front end damage, rear end damage, a little bit of both. But what I'm seeing going through all the cars is that Robbie Kelly doesn't have any damage at all. Sarah Van Fimpland has only front-end damage. Vossi Tigris, front-end damage. I mean, I think you got it. Most of the cars have damage due to a little bit of the carnage at the start. As we see Parker Olsen going into that first turn, still being followed closely by Luis Alfonso. Luis Alfonso, which is around the same pace as Parker Olsen. I'm still expecting Luis Alfonso to catch Parker Olsen because, well, I've seen a few laps ago they've been, I think, a second faster than Parker Olsen, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see how the race will go. There's still 20 minutes left on the clock. No real train as of now. Right as I say that, we see Niklas that overtook Fez Fox, but there's still quite a bit of distance between that 3-car group. By 3-car, I'm talking also about Tyler Van Beek, which is closing that group. We see another car that has invited itself in that 3-car group. It is the Ferrari behind. It is still the Ferrari of Theory, which they are following the group to get quite the souk, as we call it, from the other cars. They try to get the slipstream of the other cars. Niklas Zahn, who's trying to defend from Fez. Fez getting a little bit of distance, maybe a little bit slower. Maybe it's the rear end damage. Maybe it's a little bit of the tires because, well, the track is heavy on the front end. Oh, as Fez slides a little bit. I saw Fez sliding a little bit there. But yeah, I think Tyler Van Beek could be able to catch that P8 position. Fez might be a little bit not focused enough due to the car sliding away here and there, which is a shame because Fez changed cars for this race. I don't remember which car. Do you remember which car he was in before
I mentioned earlier in the broadcast he had moved from the BMW to the Cadillac.
Yes.
He preferred the front end of the Cadillac at the expense of not being quite as good on the brakes as the BMW. We have Fury April going for the Assotta Franchitti here. The two Italian cars. A little bit of a slide there from Fury April, although I am reminded that they pitted and they are currently flagged, so this is currently not actually their battle. We still have the train of Zan and Fox earlier with Van Beek there as well. Van Beek still has a fairly good chance of being able to make it to the end, though, so they may not even be driving that hard, knowing that other people will need to splash and dash. Time will tell, though. We still have just over a quarter of the race left. Looking at remaining energies, not that many people have pitted yet. Looking at virtual energies, I do believe that COTA may have pitted and is now running mediums and softs. We have Fury April, who did also pit. We have Louise Gordon, who did also pit. But looking at the others, I'm not sure who else has pitted. I think Mohamed Suhaimi has pitted. JPEG Fox has pitted. Next Stewart has pitted. And Jesper Springley may have also pitted as well, judging by how much energy they have left. Van Beek has 29% left, and we've got 17 minutes to go. It'll be interesting to see. Yes, I can actually see it is only April and Wolf on the board right now who have actually pitted. Van Beek is chasing that Cadillac still, looking to make a move. The Cadillac likely has the straight line, though, so even with that slipstream, I don't think any moves are going to be made now, unless it starts sliding as it did before. I do remember the Cadillac being quite lively around some of the corners. I did like it, although it did still snap on me quite a bit. Thankfully, whenever it snapped on Fez, Fez has been able to hold it, but yeah, we can see how long that'll last in the last 16 minutes.
Now, we also don't know who has a custom setup or who has the base setup from the cars compared to ACC, which is, well, another sim for the GT3 series. Compared to ACC, the setups are much, much, much better on LMU. The stock setups are very good on LMU. So you can basically run the championship without even a setup, and you can still be competitive. I know Robbie Kelly is using custom setup because he has given me one, wink wink. But no, we still don't know which car is running a custom setup or which car isn't. As we see Fez still trying to defend that position against Tyler Van Beek, the little Isota that could. So there's a 1 second gap between Tyler Van Beek and Fez Fox. And then another second gap between Fez Fox and Niklas Zan, which we see on the screen at the moment. They are in the last sector going now through turn 19 and 20. I feel like I've said that multiple times now because it's the only corners I recognize. Now on the straight, still as usual, the Cadillac getting that straight line speed, trying to break the toe of the little Isota that could. The Isota catching back on braking zones because the Cadillac is quite slow under braking. I see yellow. I see yellow on my HUD. Why do I see yellow? Because the virtual energy of almost all the drivers are getting under 30% on my side, as I see Fury April got a drive-through. I don't know why, because it doesn't seem like it is because of the virtual energy. Maybe because of cutting the corners a little bit too much and getting, getting too many penalty points, then getting them stuck, having to go back into the pits again. So I think that's going to be the only cause the only car to go 2 times into the pit lane, as we see the race leader leading by 5 seconds on Sarah van Fiepland, and then leading by 10 seconds compared to Parker Olsen. So for now, everyone looks like to be in their own pace. I see Luis Alfonso still chasing Parker Olsen. There's still, you know, that little train that we are talking about from time to time with Niklas Zahn, Fess Fox, Tyler Van Beek, with Newt a little bit behind in P10. Newt, who did lose a little bit because of that spin into those wiggly turns into turn 2, 3, and 4. Robbie Kelly going into that turn 11, massive straight again. I'm watching the times a little bit. Did I just see Robbie Kelly losing a little bit of time compared to Sarah van Fiepland? Because I see now 2 seconds between Robbie Kelly and Sarah van Fiepland. So maybe there's going to be a fight. There could be a fight. Maybe Sarah van Fiepland is trying to push as much as she can, as we see Luis Alfonso still trying to sniff Parker Olsen.
Yes, that was definitely a mistake from Robbie Kelly. They have dropped 2.5 seconds, even maybe a bit more. They could have damaged tyres depending on what happened there. Van Fiepland is looking to press that advantage. Looking at the virtual energy remaining on some of these cars, with the time remaining, I definitely think Alfonso has a chance to go to the end with no pit stop. Nicholas Zahn has a chance to go to the end of no pit stop. Fez potentially has the chance to go to the end of no pit stop. We were talking about Van Beek having enough energy to get to the end of our pit stop, but it now looks like they won't. Newt does have enough energy left to make it to the end from what I can see. Out of the front runners, that is what we have. Swingley also has 33% energy left. I'm not sure if they have made that pit stop yet, but if they have enough energy to get to the end. Sarah Emberson likely has enough energy to make it to the end, as well as Zion Stewart. Sarah Emberson in P16, Zion Stewart in P17. JPEG Fox has got 25% energy left. Louise Gordon has 29. And Fury April has 34. It does look like Alfonso may be able to make a jump on Parker Olsen. I don't think Parker Olsen has enough energy to make it to the end. Alfonso, if they keep driving at this rate, may be able to. There's only just over 10 minutes left of the race. This is where we see things potentially getting a bit more interesting.
Everyone has been pushing. We could see maybe some drive-throughs or some stop-and-goes happening. I don't know yet what happens if you get a virtual energy penalty, because that didn't happen to me, because I'm a perfect driver. I never get penalties out of the game, except a few cuts here and there, but that's not what we're talking about. I'm perfect, as I said. Tyler Van Beek, we're back on the little Isota that could, still following Fez Fox through that turn 11, going on the straight, as we see Christian Clippard getting maybe a little bit of a run on Adrian Newt. So there's that little train that is back again, 4 cars following each other, maybe with Fez Fox trying to defend from all that train that is forming behind him. So looks like everyone is within 2 seconds. So there's a 2 seconds gap between Clippard and Fez Fox, as we see Christian Clippard, who is actually much faster than Adrian Newt. So it might be a position gain for next lap, but we don't know yet. Maybe I'm talking too fast, which I usually do. Going through turn, 19, and then turn 20. Still, we're gonna see that Cadillac going full speed into that straight, because, well, it's Cadillac things, V8 things, V8 motors. As we see Eduardo Alvarez, they're still running their race, still trying to catch Vocitigris. Still going much faster actually than Vocitigris, but not much going on as they are in No Man's Land. We have our eyes on a Peugeot. Have we seen a Peugeot this race? I think we've seen a few Peugeots, but from here and there, yeah.
Yeah, there are a few Peugeots in the race. Unfortunately, none of them are in high contending positions. The so maybe considered top drivers of Simufur, none of them really wanted to take the Peugeot. It seems everybody preferring the more meta cars of the Ferrari, Porsche and Prius, as demonstrated with the top positions. Still looking at the energy left in some of the cars. I expect we will still see 1 or 2 pit stops near the end of this race. Van Veetland has been catching Robbie Kelly. We don't know if that's Robbie Kelly having some issues with their tyres after a potential spin, maybe some damage. We didn't see what happened there. That is JPEG Fox getting out of the way of battles that are happening ahead of them as well. Van Veetland catching in up as well, but I don't think the top 2 drivers will be able to make it to the end. Parker Olsen in 3rd place has 10% energy left. Alfonso in 4th has 16% energy left. I think they will be able to make it to the end without making a stop at this point. Nicholas Zan has 17%, Fezfox has 15%. A lot of them may be lucky enough to make it to the end with the energy they have right now, and may gain quite a few positions from it. As it stands, I will be shocked if the top 3 are able to make it to the end without doing a bit of a splash and dash. We see Robbie Kelly in the lead there as well. Now that gap is still closing. Sarah Van Veetland was 2 tenths faster last lap. Robbie Kelly really was struggling after that incident. We could have a race for the lead in just a moment, but will it be the lead if both of them need to pit? Alfonso is a good bit of time behind, and from my understanding right now they are about 8 seconds behind. 8 seconds behind would be more than enough to gain if the others have to pit. This could all still be open to anybody to grab the win.
Yeah, no, I'm quite impressed by how Luis Alfonso, as we see, there's someone pitting, there's Robbie Kelly throwing the win by having to pit. Maybe needed to catch back all the other cars after spinning and then having to consume all that energy by having to catch those other cars. So, as we see at the moment, there's a few other
Alfonso making the move on Olsen on track as well. I was expecting Alfonso to just lay back and hold their energy and know that the cars ahead of them needed to pit, but that may not be the case. We only have 5 minutes left in the race. Sarah Van Veetland is now taken back the lead and is 7.5 seconds ahead of Alfonso. Alfonso is closing that gap now. They're looking to push. They may have done some calculations and realised they can push till the end now and don't have to worry about that virtual energy. As we see Van Beek still chasing Fezfox, it looks like nobody else has gone into the pit yet. Vocitigris has come into the pits and is dropping several positions now. They did have a bit of a no man's land before, but fortunately they've just had to relinquish that, coming in for a splash and dash right near the end of the race. Vocitigris comes out of the pits now and is P11 in between Adrian Newt and Sierra Thomas. On track, though, we can see Tyler Van Beek chasing Fezfox. This battle has been going on for quite a while now. It could come down to energy left. I'm not sure if both of them will be able to keep going till the end. Robbie Kelly is back onto the track now and is in P4. We still have Sarah Van Veetland in the lead. Alfonso chasing them down. Still about 7 seconds gap, though. Olsen now starting to drop back. Now they have lost that position. It does seem Parker Olsen was doing a great job defending and holding the pace of Alfonso back.
The pit from Sarah.
We can hold it.
I think Sarah just pitted. Yeah, Sarah just pitted. So, as expected, as I kind of expected, I think Luis Alfonso, what Luis did is mostly trying to lift while keeping up the pace, trying to lift as much as they can to keep as much energy as they can. So, as of now, Luis Alfonso is at 10% energy with 3 minutes and 25 seconds left into the race. Which is, I think it should be enough for them to finish the race. If
they are on average, using about 3% energy per lap, as are most cars. So I think they're safe. I think that's Alfonso going for the win. I think Parker Olsen may still have to make that pit, maybe on the last lap. They only have 4% energy left. Van Fiepland only has 7% energy left. She has come back out the pits and is in P3. Robbie Kelly has still lost positions, even though Van Fiepland also had to pit. Although Kelly is right there behind her. I think they figured out that was as much energy as they needed to make to the end. Robbie Kelly put in a bit too much fuel. This has broken the expected race result. We are looking for a different podium than what we were expecting. Parker Olsen still in second place, but will they have to pit this lap? 2.5 minutes to go. They only have 2%. I think that will be Van Fiepland taking second and Kelly taking third, unless Kelly can make the move back on the track. Alvarez is 20 seconds behind and will also have to pit, so that will be Nicholas Zan taking P5 there. I think Fez Fox and Clipper will be able to go into the not have to pit. Van Beek looks like they have pitted in the end. Unfortunately, Asota wasn't able to hold that energy right now. I see Alfonso has crossed the line. This may be the final lap of the race. They might not just have enough time to do an extra lap after this, although they will be safe if there is one more lap after this. So there will still be a couple of drivers left to pit. That is Olsen in the pits now, so they have lost P2. That will be Van Fiepland and Kelly getting ahead of them for the podium. There is a yellow flag out at the moment. I can't quite tell who that is. Flag has now gone. So Sarah Van Fiepland and Robbie Kelly are now fighting for second position. But that does still seem to be, unless there is some horrible incident between them now, they will both still have the podium.
I think Sarah's gonna be Robbie's Robbie's nightmare. There's no way. So Sarah has been everywhere trying to, even if she didn't want to, she's been trying to disrupt Robbie Kelly from getting, well, at first it was P1, but now comparing the pits, like putting the pits into the game, now trying to stop Robbie Kelly from getting P2 as Sarah Van Fiepland almost spins and let Robbie Kelly get the position. Ooh, that is heartbreaking. That was maybe a little... That could have been a P2 from Sarah Van Fiepland, but Robbie Kelly managed to keep it on the track and get that P2 back. As we see, still the fight going on between the two of them. And Luis Alfonso, maybe... Yeah, I think they will get the checkered flag right now as we see them going
3 seconds to go, going around the
last
final
corner. And that's a win. Yes, that's a win from Luis Alfonso.
Yeah, Alfonso has taken the win. Kelly has taken second place with a tragic accident from Van Fiepland. She will still have P3, which is a brilliant effort from her, even with that little bit of luck at the start. That is Kelly in P2, continuing his championship lead. Van Fiepland in third. Olsen will have to settle for P4 with another Ferrari of Zan just behind. That is Olsen coming around the last two corners now to take a strong P4. Zan a few seconds behind in P5, followed by Fez Fox. We do have a certain team leader very happy in the chat right now with that result from Alfonso, as Fez Fox crosses the line for a strong P6, one of their best results they've had recently. Clipper takes P7 after a poor start. Nuke gets back up to P8. Vossi Tigris, unfortunately, after having to pit, is coming across the line in P9. Alvarez, after brilliant pace at the start of the race, just lost out with that instant at the beginning with a bit of a takeout from Alfonso, which actually, I'm being reminded, turn 1 between Alvarez and Alfonso, that could change the result of the race at the end again if the stewards decide to do something about that. It could still be Kelly's win, potentially. Sierra Thomas coming around, great performance from her to get P12 as well. P13, Fabio Sal, a bit unfortunate from them, but they have still brought it to the end, followed closely by Swingley. And I believe that is everybody finished on track. It looks like everybody else is already in the pits. So that does conclude round 2 at COTA. It was a bit... Yeah, we are about to look at some replays to see... We are about to see some replays now to see maybe some of the things we missed during the race, maybe some highlights. What do you think we're about to be seeing, MNU? Any particular highlights from yourself?
Hold on. Let me make a quick list. I'm doing a quick list of what happened. No, I'm joking. So I mean, what for sure we'll see T1. That's for sure. Maybe I'm expecting Newt's crash. I know Denak is behind the camera. I know he's complaining about the fact that I'm making a list out of this. You show that on the stream, right, Denak? No, I'm joking. But yeah, no, we've seen turn 1, which was a little bit of a carnage. Then we saw a little bit of a few spins here and there. So, for example, Robbie Kelly spinning one time when the full course yellow was called. But then, after a few moments, Adrian Newt also getting a little bit of a spin through turn 2, 3, and 4, and then we've seen maybe too many things to show everything on the stream. I'm too harsh to Denak. I'm sorry, Denak.
Yes, that was a bit. It was a lot of stuff going on in that race, and the fact that it was able to be a zero stopper for a lot of people threw that spanner in that we actually wanted to see. Saw things a bit different. There was a lot of great battling, but we did get a bit of strategy near the end there as well. Some people may have potentially pulled away from their battles to conserve that energy and win on track. Maybe a bit less exciting than going for the overtakes, but this is a track which can be difficult to overtake on. A lot of braking zones did see us get some 2 wides, some 3 wides. Wonderful to see there. And as we already mentioned, LMU does let you race bumper to bumper, doesn't launch you into another zip code when you accidentally touch the rear. Suspensions don't act like ejector seats. That has made for much better battles to watch. Does look like the cars can take a little bit of damage without losing all of their pace as well. So it does still look like the Ferraris, Porsches, and Priuses are the fastest cars out there. It's a shame that Alvarez wasn't able to give us... Alvarez did a wonderful job of bringing themselves back up the road. We are ready to see the replays now, so we shall cut to those in just a second.
I told you that's T1.
Yeah, coming up to turn 1 now. We'll see what happened there. This is Alfonso and Alvarez. Difficult to judge. That's I mean, we're not here to be stewards. Yeah. We're not here to be stewards, so we can't tell if that's going to change the result of the race or not. All the cars are suddenly going in reverse. I don't remember this happening in the race, but...
Have we seen the Porsche maybe getting a little bit... I think that was that the Porsche from Sarah Van Fipland getting maybe a little bit too touchy. Because I may have saw a contact behind, but I'm not sure. Maybe a little
Again,
bit
I think we're getting a bit too close to being stewards here, so we don't want to discuss whose fault it was so much. But there's RK spinning, Robbie Kelly spinning from the full course yellow. He may have been a little unprepared for that, but it didn't really seem to affect them too much in the end. They still had that incredible pace to bring them up to the top positions once more. This is probably the slowest all the cars. On the Simufur Discord, join us for any future races. And here we have the overtake for the lead. I believe this would be the earlier one between Kelly and Van Veepelen. Van Veepelen took way too much sausage there. I know we're furries, but we don't want to be riding those sausages like that, and it did lose them enough pace to... And Kelly had to take the move there, so that...
I wasn't expecting it, especially since it's a game that doesn't have hardcore suspensions. As we see Adrian Newt behind. Oh, yes!
That was a nice little 360 spin, but it was at the cost of, I think that was Saul racing against Sierra?
I think that was Soul and Fury. I think that was
Saul and Fury. Oh, a bit more of a slide there as well. That was not the kind of action they would have wanted to see.
A race-ending crash, sadly. That was a race-ending crash for Fury, who had to pit one time, I guess, to repair the damage and to change the tires, etc. And then maybe it also that got them to have a drive-through, which, well, as I said, it's race ruining. But well, that's gonna be the end of this stream. What's your opinion about it? It was pretty chaotic, but it was. I mean, the pit stops at the end. That was quite cool. I think that's the first time it happens.
Yes, I think that we would have expected something like that in Assetto Corsa Competizione if we didn't have a mandatory pit stop there. But because we don't have a mandatory pit stop here, and most people expect that stints only last 40 to 50 minutes, everybody expected to have a pit stop. It was only those rumours getting closer to the race itself that we would have zero stoppers, and there were a few people that were able to do that zero stop and get some winning places out of that. It was more action than I was expecting, considering some of the drivers were talking about having nowhere to overtake. That I think that was proved very different, very wrong here with the amount of overtakes and the amount of battles we had. A lot more entertaining to commentate than I thought.
Anyways, I think that's going to be the end of the stream. That was a very good stream. Honestly, I wasn't expecting that either. So, well, thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for saying that I'm apparently what did someone say?
We're either Dutch, German, or Spanish. Apparently,
yes. Apparently,
no hablo español. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, but I've been Azure Go, commentating alongside MNU.
Hello.
What is our next round, actually, for people who want to stay tuned next week?
So next week is going to be Qatar, happening at the same time. So on Sunday, around the same time the stream started today, with pretty hot temperatures. So be sure to tune in. If you want to be sure to tune in, please be free to subscribe. Please subscribe. I'm doing the YouTuber thing. Mom,
Please
I'm on
like,
YouTube.
subscribe, hit that bell button, join us on Discord, join us in LMU for some lovely racing action around Middle Eastern oil money track that we'll be racing next week. Once again, I've been Azure Goat. This has been MNU. I want to give a special thank you to Denak for doing all of the cameras and running everything in the background for us as well. Simufur is welcoming of all skill levels, so even if you feel like you're a complete beginner to sim racing, we still want to see you around and see you out there on track. But for now, thank you for watching, and we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.